The night cracked open with a thunderous roar as fire surged across the ruined courtyard, scattering stone and ash into the air. Elena, the reluctant hero, stumbled forward, her heart pounding as she saw Adrian dragged away by the enemy. Her tear-streaked face glistened in the crimson glow, her trembling voice breaking as she whispered, "I will not lose you." Adrian, the protector, fought fiercely, but chains of dark magic bound his wrists. His storm-gray eyes locked with hers, filled with both warning and devotion. The villain, Seraphine, smiled coldly, her pale hands weaving a sinister pattern that shimmered like poisoned silk. The spell pulsed between them, a heart-binding curse stronger than any blade. The mentor Marcus shouted, "Elena, you must resist the bond." His voice cracked with fear, but the magic coiled tighter around her chest, burning with unbearable heat. The air trembled, charged with betrayal and desire, as the heart's secret spell was unleashed. The storm eased for a fleeting moment, but the silence was heavy with dread. Elena gasped for breath, her chest still burning from the spell. Marcus pulled her aside, his voice trembling. "The bond has begun." She shook her head, unwilling to believe. Adrian's absence felt like a blade twisting in her soul, his voice echoing in memory, "Stay strong, no matter what." She clenched her fists, her heart torn between fear and determination. Shadows danced along the shattered walls, whispers of the curse lingering in the air. Elena whispered, "I will not let her win," her words fragile but fierce. Marcus steadied her, his hand gripping her shoulder with urgency. "You must understand this curse binds hearts to destroy," he said, his eyes shadowed with regret. Elena's breath quivered, but she raised her chin stubbornly. The weight of her destiny loomed, pressing against her spirit. But she refused to surrender. The courtyard echoed with distant thunder, and her body trembled under the strain of power she had never wanted. Yet within the fear, a fragile flame of defiance burned. She whispered, "If my heart is bound, then I will use it to fight." Far across the shattered courtyard, Seraphine's laughter carried through the storm. She watched from the crumbling archway, eyes gleaming with cruel delight. "The more they resist, the deeper it binds," she whispered to herself. Her shadow twisted with the storm's lightning, her body moving with serpentine grace. She savored the chaos, relishing the torment she had ignited. Adrian's muffled cries reached her ears, but her smile only widened. Her powers surged, crimson and merciless, feeding off the lover's anguish. Elena's vision blurred as memories of Adrian flooded her heart. The warmth of his touch, the steadiness of his gaze, the promise in his voice, they all became weapons against despair. She staggered to her feet, determination overtaking pain. Marcus watched silently, knowing her choice was dangerous yet necessary. "Your heart will guide you," he whispered, his tone heavy with both warning and pride. Elena's lips curved into a fragile smile. She would not be broken. She would fight for him. She would fight for love. The storm passed, leaving silence broken only by the crackle of fire consuming shattered beams. Elena sat near the ruins, her chest aching with the lingering burn of the spell. Marcus placed his hand gently on her shoulder, his voice quiet but firm. "The bond cannot be undone easily. It feeds on your love, drawing strength from what you hold most dear." Elena trembled but lifted her chin, her eyes shimmering with determination. "Then I will not fear it. Love is not my weakness, it is my power." Marcus's expression darkened, regret shadowing his eyes as he whispered, "But every power has a cost." Elena rose slowly, her legs unsteady, yet her spirit unbroken. She walked toward the courtyard's edge where shadows still lingered. Her voice wavered but did not falter as she said, "If the curse draws on love, then it will also feel my resolve." Marcus frowned, his voice sharp. "Resolve cannot silence magic. It must be faced with wisdom." Elena turned to him, her eyes fierce. "Wisdom will not save him. Only my heart will." A silence stretched, heavy with truths neither wished to face. The path forward was perilous, but she had already chosen it. Marcus led Elena into the forest beyond the ruins, where trees whispered with unseen power. He spoke as they walked, his staff glowing faintly. The spell that binds hearts is older than kingdoms. To fight it, you must learn where it comes from. Elena's steps slowed, the weight of his words sinking deep. Then teach me, she said, her voice steady but soft. Marcus glanced at her, sorrow clouding his gaze. What I reveal may break you before it saves you. Yet, Elena did not flinch. The fire in her eyes burned brighter than the storm that had tried to consume her. They stopped near a stone altar, ancient runes glowing faintly across its surface. Marcus touched the carvings with reverence. This is where the heart bond was first forged, in blood and fire. Elena traced the lines with trembling fingers, feeling the pulse of energy beneath her skin. It feels alive, she whispered. Marcus nodded solemnly. Because it is. Magic tied to hearts is never dormant. It breathes, it suffers, it endures. Elena's eyes closed briefly as she felt Adrian's presence flicker within her soul. For a moment, it was as though his heartbeat echoed inside her chest. The night deepened as Marcus spoke of the curse's cruelty. Those bound by it are torn between desire and destruction. It thrives on longing, on pain. Elena's heart raced, her thoughts filled with Adrian's face, his eyes, his voice. She clenched her fists and said, "Then let it thrive, but it will not break me." Marcus studied her, admiration hidden beneath worry. Your defiance is strong, but even the strongest hearts bleed. Elena stepped closer to the altar, her voice quiet yet unshakable. Then let mine bleed for love. The runes glowed brighter, pulsing with her vow. The forest deepened into shadows, its silence heavy with unseen eyes. Elena felt every step echo through her chest, as though Adrian's heartbeat pulsed within her own. Marcus led with his staff glowing faintly, but even he seemed unsettled. Suddenly, branches shifted, and from the darkness emerged Lysander, the sidekick, carrying a crooked grin. "Well, this looks grim," he said, brushing leaves from his hair. Elena almost laughed, but her exhaustion weighed heavier. Marcus scowled. "This is no time for games." Yet Lysander's smirk faded, replaced by something harder. "If you're hunting answers, you'll need me." Elena frowned, uncertainty pulling at her voice. "Why would you follow us, Lysander?" He leaned casually against a tree, yet his eyes were sharp. "Because I don't trust the ground you're walking on," he said. Marcus muttered, "He's trouble." Lysander's smirk curved wider. "Trouble has its uses." Elena studied him, torn between distrust and gratitude. The forest air thickened, whispers of unseen forces pressing closer. For the first time since the curse began, she felt a flicker of hope, fragile but real. "Then walk with us," she said softly. Lysander's eyes glimmered with something unreadable. The group pressed on until the forest opened to a glade where the air shimmered faintly with magic. Runes glowed faintly across the stones, marking it as sacred ground. Marcus whispered, "This is where truth is revealed." Elena's heart pounded, her voice fragile. "Adrian, can he feel me here?" The air answered with a faint hum, her chest tightening as if his presence brushed against her soul. Lysander's gaze softened, his usual levity gone. "If you listen close, sometimes the heart speaks louder than words." Elena closed her eyes, a tear slipping free. From the shadows beyond the glade, a figure emerged, Damien, the fallen hero. His once noble armor was blackened and cracked, his face marked by grief and rage. Elena's breath caught, recognition and sorrow twisting her voice. "Damien." His lips curled into a bitter smile. "Still, chasing love when it only destroys?" Marcus stepped forward, staff raised. "You were once better than this." Damien's eyes blazed with torment. "Better is dead. What remains is truth." His presence radiated danger and pain, stirring fear yet also pity in Elena's heart. The air crackled as Damien's voice rose. "The curse binds more than hearts, it devours them." Elena's pulse raced, fear and compassion warring inside her. "You let it consume you," she whispered. Damien's expression flickered with pain before hardening again. Lysander shifted, hand near his dagger, his levity replaced with sharp readiness. Marcus stood firm, his staff glowing brighter. Elena's resolve flared, her voice trembling but fierce. If this curse is meant to break us, then I will defy it. Damien's bitter laughter echoed, but in his eyes a spark of the man he once was glimmered. The glade trembled as Damien's voice cut through the night. You think love protects you, but it is the curse itself. Elena's breath caught, her heart hammering against the invisible bond. Marcus's staff pulsed with light, his voice low. What do you mean? Damien's gaze locked on Elena, anguish flickering beneath his rage. The bond is not Seraphine's creation, it is older, and you were born with it. Elena's world spun, her legs weak. No, it cannot be, Lysander muttered. Well, that's a twist I didn't need. Yet, in Elena's soul, truth struck deep. Elena staggered back, clutching her chest, as if to tear out the bond itself. Adrian's faint voice echoed inside her mind, a whisper both tender and agonizing. You were always mine. Tears blurred her vision. Marcus steadied her, his tone grave. If this is true, then your destiny was never your own. Damien's eyes narrowed, his voice shaking with fury. I fought against it and lost. You will too. Elena's voice broke as she whispered, No, I will not be your reflection. Her vow rang out, fragile but fierce. The air shifted, colder now, as Seraphine appeared at the glad's edge. Her gown shimmered with crimson light, her smile razor sharp. So, the truth comes to light. Her words sliced like knives. Elena's eyes burned with fury. You knew. Seraphine laughed softly. Of course, you are not cursed by me. You are chosen by the spell itself. Marcus raised his staff, his voice commanding. Enough. But Seraphine's power swelled, crimson threads weaving through the glade. Damien stepped back, shadows flickering across his face. She speaks truth, he muttered bitterly. Elena's chest heaved as she stepped forward, her voice raw. If this spell has chosen me, then I will choose how to wield it. Seraphine's laughter filled the glade. You cannot shape destiny. You are its prisoner. Marcus gritted his teeth. Every spell has a flaw. Damien snarled. Flaws only consume you faster. Lysander broke the tension with a sharp grin. Or maybe flaws can be turned into doors. Elena's hand trembled, yet she placed it on the runes. The altar blazed with sudden light, responding to her vow. The ground shook beneath their feet. The altar's glow erupted, flooding the glade with blinding brilliance. Elena's vision swam as images flashed before her eyes. Adrian's face, his chains, the bond twisting like fire between them. A single truth seared into her heart, breaking the spell, meant tearing apart their souls. She gasped, collapsing to her knees, the weight unbearable. Marcus caught her arm, whispering, What did you see? Elena's voice trembled, broken. If I free us, he dies. If I surrender, I lose myself. Silence fell, every gaze fixed on her. The path ahead had become a torment no heart should bear. Elena stumbled back from the altar, the glow fading as despair gnawed at her spirit. Her breath came ragged, each inhale burning her lungs. Marcus reached toward her, his voice urgent, Do not let it break you. Yet her chest ached as Adrian's voice whispered faintly within her mind, I am slipping. Tears blurred her sight, her body trembling under the crushing weight of choice. Damien's cold tone cut through the silence. Love is the sweetest poison, and now it drinks you dry. His words struck her heart, leaving her shivering with both grief and rage. Lysander stepped forward, tension replacing his usual grin. You are not alone in this fight, Elena. She raised her gaze, hollow yet searching, and whispered, How can I save him when every path destroys us? He crouched beside her, eyes steady, voice low. Because even chains can break if hearts stand together. Marcus's staff pulsed faintly, his warning sharp. But the curse is feeding on this despair. Fight it, or it will devour you whole. Elena closed her eyes, tears spilling, the sound of Adrian's fading heartbeat echoing like thunder within her soul. Seraphine's cruel laughter slashed through the night, sharp as broken glass. Every tear strengthens the bond, every breath of despair makes it eternal. Her hands rose, weaving crimson threads across the glade, suffocating the air. Elena screamed as fire lanced through her chest, the spell tightening around her heart like barbed wire. Marcus thrust his staff forward, blue light clashing violently against crimson, sparks raining down like shattered stars. Damien stood silent, torn between rage and sorrow, while Lysander reached for his dagger. The ground quaked, echoing Elena's anguished cry, "You will not take him." Elena crawled forward, each movement a war against agony, yet her eyes blazed with stubborn fire. "Adrian, hear me," she whispered, her voice breaking but fierce. Marcus shouted from behind, "You cannot endure this." Still, she pressed on, fingers scraping glowing stone, refusing surrender. Damien's voice cracked with grief as he snarled, "She will die if this continues." Seraphine's lips curved in triumph. "Or she will finally belong to me." Elena lifted her face, drenched in sweat and tears, defiance burning bright as the spell twisted tighter. "Love is not yours to claim," she rasped. Elena collapsed against the altar, her tears falling into the runes that flared with sudden brilliance. Her cry tore through the night. "If love is my prison, I will wield it as my weapon." The glade erupted, golden white light exploding outward, clashing with crimson force. Marcus shielded his eyes, shouting her name. Seraphine staggered, her smirk faltering as her threads unraveled. Damien's breath caught, awe breaking through his bitterness. Lysander whispered in disbelief, "She is rewriting the spell." Elena's pain blazed into defiance, her body trembling as light radiated from her heart like a storm. The golden light surged from Elena's heart, colliding with Seraphine's crimson force, ripping the night apart with thunderous power. Marcus shouted above the chaos, "You cannot hold both powers at once." Elena's voice cracked, yet rang clear. "I must for Adrian." Her body shook violently as energy burned through her veins, threatening to shatter her. Damien shielded his eyes, his voice raw. "She will destroy herself." Seraphine snarled, her face twisted, then let her burn. But even as the curse tore at her, Elena's resolve only grew stronger, blazing brighter than fear. The ground cracked, trees bending as the duel consumed the glade. Elena's scream carried Adrian's name, the bond pulling his faint spirit into the light. For a heartbeat, his form flickered, chained, yet reaching toward her. "Elena," he whispered, his voice both near and far. Tears blurred her vision, but she thrust her hand forward. "I will not let you fade." Seraphine's voice shrieked over the storm. "Every heartbeat you give him brings you closer to death." Elena's body trembled, her face pale, yet she smiled through agony. "Then let my heart break for love." Marcus forced his staff into the earth, sending waves of blue energy to shield Elena. "Focus, child. Use the bond, not against it. Bend it to your will." His voice carried urgency and hope. Lysander darted across the battlefield, slashing crimson threads with his dagger, his face grim but determined. Elena gasped, collapsing to one knee, her hands pressed to the glowing altar. "If the bond is alive, then hear me. Love does not consume, it creates." For the first time, the golden light steadied, expanding outward like a heartbeat, defying Seraphine's chains. Seraphine roared, pouring all her strength into one final surge, crimson light whipping like a storm. The glade shattered, stones rising into the air. Elena staggered to her feet, blood streaking her lips, but her eyes blazed with fire. Adrian's spirit appeared clearer now, his chains rattling violently. "Elena, stop!" he cried, fear etched across his face. She shook her head, her voice breaking. "No, Adrian. Love is not my weakness, it is my power." She pressed both hands to her chest, unleashing a burst so bright it painted the night with dawn. The clash reached its breaking point, golden light shattering crimson in a roar that shook the heavens. Seraphine screamed as her magic cracked, her body flung backward in defeat. The altar pulsed violently, runes exploding with brilliance. Elena collapsed, her body trembling, but Adrian's chains splintered in glowing shards. For a fleeting moment, his spirit touched her face, whispering, "You have set me free." Tears streamed as her lips formed his name, but before she could grasp him, his form dissolved into the light. Silence fell, the battlefield glowing with the aftermath of sacrifice. The glade lay in silence, smoke drifting through the broken trees as the altars glowed dim to embers. Elena knelt in the center, her body trembling, her heart hollow yet burning. Marcus approached slowly, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. His voice was soft, burdened with sorrow. "He is gone, child." She shook her head weakly, tears glistening. "No, he lives in me." Damien turned away, shadows clinging to his scarred face. Lysander lowered his dagger, eyes heavy. The night air carried the weight of sacrifice, and every breath felt like mourning. Seraphine stirred in the shadows, her gown torn, her power broken. Yet her eyes burned with hatred. "This is not the end," she hissed. Marcus raised his staff, blue light flickering, but Elena stopped him with a trembling hand. "No more," she whispered. Seraphine's bitter laugh echoed before her form dissolved into mist, vanishing into the forest. Damien clenched his fists, his voice low with regret. "I once believed her lies too." Elena turned, her voice shaking but resolute. "Then choose differently now." Her words struck him with painful clarity, and he bowed his head in silence. The first light of dawn broke through the shattered canopy, bathing the glade in fragile gold. Elena rose slowly, swaying yet unbroken. Lysander stepped to her side, offering his arm. "The world will not thank you," he said quietly. She gave him a weary smile. "I did not do it for the world." Marcus lowered his staff, his gaze filled with pride and sorrow. "You carry both loss and hope now. That is the burden of love." Elena closed her eyes, feeling Adrian's heartbeat echo faintly within her chest. It was weaker, yet it was still there. They began to walk away from the altar, the weight of silence heavy between them. Damien lingered behind, his gaze fixed on the fading runes. His voice was low, carrying pain and longing. "Perhaps there is still redemption for me." Marcus paused, but did not answer, his eyes instead fixed on Elena. She walked with slow, steady steps, her torn cloak trailing across the broken earth. The burden of love weighed heavy, yet a fragile hope clung to her. Lysander glanced at her, his voice soft. "What now?" Elena's reply came as a whisper. "I keep walking." At the forest's edge, Elena paused, turning back one last time. The ruins stood silent, bathed in pale dawn. Her heart ached with loss, yet within it glowed the faint rhythm of Adrian's love, broken but alive. A tear slipped down her cheek as she whispered, "I will carry you, always." The wind stirred, carrying her words into the trees, as though the world itself bore witness. Marcus bowed his head, Lysander placed a hand over his chest, and even Damien's eyes glistened. Elena stepped forward into the light, her journey unfinished, but her heart unyielding.